Hi and welcome. In our air dry clay projects we often make air dry clay vases and pots and little pins and things like that, but today I'm going to be making some air dry clay flowers and some beautiful things for you to decorate your home with. In this video of my 20 air dry clay gifts, I made some Lotus seed heads, and so here I'm going to make them in more detail and show you exactly how I did make them. Oversized Lotus seed pods, and when you make something quite large out of air dry clay, you want to start with a base, and that base can be something as simple as a polystyrene block like this, or some tin foil, or like I'm doing, I'm going to use them both. We can then form a rough kind of shape so that we can then cover this with our air dry clay. Scrunch the tin foil up and mould it all into shape. Keep adding layers of the tin foil until you're happy with it. This is basically a very short cone shape, and as you can see I'm just using a twig from the garden or a piece of driftwood, and that is a really easy and natural way to make your stem. To give extra strength to this structure before we add the clay, I just like to take my hot glue gun and add some glue onto the base of the stem. We're now ready to roll our clay and cover this with clay. We just need to make sure we roll a big disc so that we can add it over the top of this base section here. This project's all about being rustic and close to nature, and so we want to try and mimic the nature, and so nothing is ever perfect. So the way we roll it out and the way we mould this actually doesn't want to be perfect at all, and we want some creases and we want some marks, and you'll see how I do it in a moment. So I've rolled and cut out this disc, and I know that's going to fit over the top nicely. Just poke a hole in the middle, and then I'm going to insert our stem through this. My clay is a few millimeters thick. You can do it thicker than this, it's completely up to you. I just like to make sure they're not too heavy at the end, so I just want that slightly thinner clay, and it makes them a bit more lightweight. Form the clay over the top like this so you get some nice folds and it drapes over really quite nicely and organically, and pinch the base of the stem as well. If you do feel that there's too much excess around the outside, you can always cut some away as well. It's completely up to you. So to do this, we would just cut a triangle out and then pinch that clay back together. So now onto the top section of the pod. We want to make a nice rustic circle that will fit into the top of our piece here. And so just cut it till you're happy with the shape. As I said, nice and rustic and organic looking, and we will create something that does look quite natural at the end. I've just got the end of a marker pen here, and I'm simply making some large holes. Just place it on and swirl it around nice and evenly and fill up your area there with all these little gaps and holes. I find this bit really fun and therapeutic too. We then need another disc that will go underneath this, that will go on top of our tin foil, so we can do this out of another piece of our scrap clay here. Just roll out another piece, and then we're going to simply add this on here. I think this is a really good project for beginners because you don't need to be neat, you just need to get stuck in and really just make something. And I think the end result turns out so beautifully. So just to attach this, you just want to score it a little. You can add a little bit of air dry clay slip on there, and then we're simply going to add our piece with the holes on the top in the same way and make sure it's all nice and secured. If it's still nice and soft, you can just pinch it into place. You can drag a bit over with a knife and just make sure that's nice and secure. The base of the stem also needs just a little bit of extra air dry clay adding, so we can just pinch this around and form it there like that. You can add lots of marks and details in, and you can do whatever pattern you wish on here. If you take an example of a lotus pod, then maybe see what marks you feel it has on there and try and replicate that on your extra large air dry clay one. If you feel you've got a little bit excess and you like the marks over the other side there, you can simply take your knife and cut some sections out, and that looks really natural and organic when you do that. And then once you're happy with it, you can set it to dry, and I have one here that I've had drying and we're ready to paint that. And they do look really beautiful left plain white as well. And if you want to add any of the little seeds in, then simply just roll some little air dry clay beads and you can score them at the bottom, add a little slip and then add them in place. I don't fill all the holes with seeds, just a few of them. You obviously don't have to make them giant like these big ones, but you could make them small like this as well and make quite a few and make a really nice arrangement with those. I'm going to paint mine with some acrylic paints, and you really can paint them any colour and style as you wish. I'm just going to paint mine quite neutral. I'm going to go over with some greys, and then after this I'll just go over and brush with some white as well. So really it doesn't have to be perfect, it's better if it's not perfect, because again we want that natural look. So every time I pick up a bit of paint on the paintbrush, it might be a slightly different colour. And inside the little holes here where the seed pods are, I am just doing a little bit of a darker colour, and later on I'll go over and use the white acrylic paint and add some highlights and bring the lightness out again. Make sure you let the acrylic paint dry really well between coats of paint, and then come back in and keep layering up all your different neutral tones. You can add some lines onto like this if you wish and then blend them in. Just make it as natural and organic as you can and as you like. I absolutely love making these from air dry clay, and I really hope you do give them a go, and they're a really great addition to have as a part of your home decor. I have this super light air dry clay, which is very different from the white Das air dry clay, but it's also really nice to use. So you can make air dry clay flowers and air dry clay leaves and things from this, and I'm going to show you that now. As you can see, this air dry clay is a really different texture. It's quite airy and sticky, and it comes in lots of different colours. But we can use it in a really similar way to our regular air dry clay, and so we can roll it out and use it exactly the same like that. So I've taken a small ball of it here and I'm going to roll it really quite thinly. So I pinch it together on one end and I'm just trying to roll it into a leaf shape. It does not have to be perfect at all. I have some thin craft wire and I'm going to use that as the stem of the leaf. I attach this in place along the back of the leaf, and then I make a really fine coil and put this over the top of the wire so that it hides it. Bend the wire over and then let the leaf naturally drape a little, and then I have a ball of plasticine here and I simply just put the other end of the wire in there, and then I make lots more and place them in here. Make them all in slightly different shapes and different sizes, and then we let them set and leave them to dry. This super lightweight clay is really good for making this kind of thing, as obviously they're nice and light and a little bit foamy at the end, so they're not brittle, as Das air dry clay would be that brittle this thin. I absolutely love how these have turned out. They're now fully dry and they're lovely just as they are, but I'm going to paint them. Look at some pictures of leaves that you like and then just replicate that. So I have a nice green here and I'm simply just stippling this on to give a little bit extra texture, and this is of course acrylic paint. So I've painted them all in that way, and then I'm simply taking a slightly darker colour and I'm going to paint on some veins like this. Once I've gone over with this colour, I'll then go over with a slightly darker colour and then over with a little bit of white as little highlights, and they turn out really quite well. I actually fooled some of the people in my house that they were actually real, and when you go to feel them, Obviously they're not, and they don't die on you, so they're brilliant and they'd make a really lovely little gift. We all like to make our clay pots and things, so why not make a lovely air dry clay pot and then make some of these leaves and make a little plant out of it, and then you've made the whole thing. Then you can dress your pot exactly as you wish and add any flowers that you have in there as well. And if you want to make some little flowers to go in here, then of course we can do that as well. Again, I'm going to use this super light air dry clay, and I have some craft wire. I just curl the bottom end and then add a tiny little bit of clay to this, and then make some little dimples in it with a brush of some sort. Roll a teardrop shape out of another small piece of clay, and then we can take some scissors and snip into this. We snip it in half, turn it, snip that half in half, and then repeat again, snip that half in half, and then I'm simply just going to use my fingers and pull out these sections which are going to be the petals, and then I simply pinch them between my thumb and finger. I go round each one, pinch the petal shape in at the end, just like that, and then these are really quite quick and simple. We're going to make lots of them, and I like to take a pen, run this along here like this, and you get a little groove in the base, and we spread that petal out once more. Take your wire, and then we're going to insert this directly through the middle, and so there you have your first little flower. And as I say, we're going to make plenty of them. They can all be slightly different shapes and sizes, a little bit wonky, and it doesn't matter, and then we'll put them all together and you'll see how beautiful they look. You can make some really quick small little buds as well in the same way. Depending on what colour you chose for the clay, you could leave them as they are, or you could paint with them with acrylic paint, but I have some white spray paint here, and I'm simply just going to spray them gently all over so some of that green still comes out. I've turned them over and spray them again. And then once they're fully dry, I'm simply going to take all the wires together and just twist them together like this. Gently pull them into place. You can add as many or as few as you wish, and then they're ready to use. So these air dry clay flowers, along with the air dry clay leaves and the little pinch pot that I made, makes a really super piece of home decor, and I absolutely love it. Here's another air dry clay project that's really simple and quick to make out of our regular DAS air dry clay. I just roll out a disc of the white clay, and then I'm adding my stone clay in the middle. It doesn't matter if you just have one solid piece, it doesn't matter at all. And I've formed it into a tear shape. I've got a hook of wire here, I've just bent the wire over, and then I push it in and pull it back a bit, and then close up the base there, and the wire stays perfectly inside. And so I've taken some fine scissors here, and I'm simply just going to snip and turn, and we'll carry on all the way round until we get to the top. And we're making just these little air dry clay buds, and these look beautiful when you make lots of them and put them in a little vase. So I hope you give these a go too. When you get to the top, just snip into the top twice. You can add in any little details if you want with a pin or something like that. As I say, make lots of them. You can make some with bigger cuts like these, or you can make some with some smaller cuts, and they just look a little bit different. Have a practice and see what you like. It hardly uses any clay, and these look really pretty together in a little vase as well. So I hope you give them a go, and I hope you give the rest of these projects a go. And I have so many more air dry clay projects over on my channel, so please do come and see some more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.